Selling Sunset, the star Chelsea Lazkani did an interview last year with Carlos King that has suddenly become much more relevant today. Take a look.
Struggled a lot. I often don't feel heard or seen. I feel like when I am heard, I'm misheard. And I feel like a lot of my mannerisms and my natural dialect, my natural personality and persona is always misconstrued. I struggle so much because I'm trying to be my authentic self, and there are undertones of like Chelsea's aggressive or Chelsea's a bully or Chelsea's mean. And I'm like, never in my life up until coming on reality TV have I ever heard that. I'm sorry, it makes me so sad. But never in my life have I ever been called a bully or mean or aggressive. So when I hear some of that, or I hear undertones of it from some of the other girls, and I'm just like, you've never really given me a chance. If I say something, I'm aggressive or I'm mean, or I came for this person. If someone says the exact same thing, she's just giving her opinion.
So with the release of season 9 of Selling Sunset, Netflix's real estate reality series, fans have noticed that the type of treatment that star Chelsea Lazkani was referring to in this interview has become more prolific over the years, particularly coming from her co-star Mary Bonnet. So here's the criticism of how Mary has treated Chelsea.
From the moment Chelsea came into the O group, I saw the microaggressions. Chelsea was the only one that had to prove her worth before she was accepted into the group. I remember when Christine brought her in, I think it was in season 5, and she went to Brett and Jason and was like, I know this girl, her name's called Chelsea, we get on really well, she's into real estate, she's really good at what she does, I think she should come in. Because Christine was planning her exit. Brett and Jason said, yeah, sure, we'd love to meet her. And then they turned around and said to Chelsea, if you can sell this property, we'll let you into the group. No other person in the O group that we've seen on Selling Sunset has had to do that. Everyone else has come in by association, by recommendation. None of them have had to sell a damn thing to end up on the show. Only Chelsea. We cannot pinpoint the exact thing that has made Mary dislike Chelsea so much. And in the last season, it was Mary that was antagonizing Chelsea, talking about her behind her back, getting into her business. And then when Chelsea put the boundary up and said, don't you dare, don't ever have my name in your mouth, that gave Mary a reason not to like Chelsea. But she didn't like Chelsea anyway. She just doesn't like the fact that Chelsea will speak up for herself. What takes the cake now is she's trying to use anything to make Chelsea seem like a threat when she isn't. How are you going to be so upset because someone sent you flowers? I don't care if it was staged or not. I don't care if Chelsea did it so that she can appear some type of way on the screen. For the fact that Mary reacted like that, this same attention that you're saying that Chelsea is looking for, you gave it to her. Then you got Brie looking like a damn hypocrite and a fool, talking about how pretty the flowers are. Then as soon as she hears they're from Chelsea, all of a sudden they're ugly and they get thrown in the bin. Then at the dinner, you got Alana walking in giving Mary flowers. On camera, Mary doesn't say a damn thing.
You calling Chelsea a bitch for sending you flowers, and you're more upset with her sending you flowers than you are about the burglary.
Last season, they had an issue where Chelsea wore this, which was a very short skirt. Mary is like, you are dressed inappropriately. And Chelsea says, well, you are always dressed inappropriately. Like, who are you to tell me what to do? And I will say that in this season, we see Mary in a variety of outfits. Like at one point, she's literally wearing lingerie with a blazer over it. Like it feels like a lot to be like, you're dressed inappropriately. Chelsea responds with the same energy to her. And now she's like, you're dangerous and I can't be around you. Like that feels very loaded racially. And it feels like, okay, you're doing too much now. And then I watched the finale where she starts crying, screaming, freaking out, like throwing up, literally having an anxiety attack because Chelsea's name is on a table. Chelsea has never like swung at you. She's never leapt at you. She's never proven herself to be dangerous. So this whole idea of like, I'm going to try to get this person fired because I don't like them is a lot.
I heard Chrishell Stause is telling people that Mary was too afraid of Chelsea to film the final episode, and that's just not true. In the final episode that should have aired, Mary and Jason confront Chelsea in the office, and they both fire her. Chelsea then accuses them, rightfully so, of being racist, just like he did at that other dinner. Jason then demanded that the cameras be turned off, and he threatened to cancel Selling Sunset and Selling OC if the production company aired that footage. So they left it out. That's why the season ends that way. And I am an attorney, and the reason I know this is because more than one former and or current cast member has reached out to me because they are contractually precluded from explaining this or sharing some of these details, but I'm not contractually bound by anything.
Chelsea told me that everything we saw on camera was actually worse. She said everything everything that everybody's upset about, it was actually worse. Actually worse. This was disgusting. I'm disgusted. To be honest, this show should be boycotted.
Well, Mary wasn't the only co-star being accused of racism. Tiesi, whose claim to fame was being one of Nick Cannon's baby mamas, has also been called out over her treatment of cast members. So here's more on that.
Bree and Chelsea have that long-standing beef because Chelsea was talking about Bree's relationship with Nick Cannon. And then Bree brought to camera that Chelsea's husband was cheating on her, which Chelsea was like, we all said that we weren't going to do this and you did it anyway.
Last season, Chelsea said something to you that other women in the brokerage said. Like, damn, girl, how does it feel to be Nick Cannon's 20th baby mama? That's something that all the ladies said to you, but you chose to focus on Chelsea. Why? Because even though you ride all that black, you don't like black women.
See you later, ho.
And it's like, Bree, it's crazy hearing you refer to Chelsea as a hoe. You are on camera saying that you've been with Nick Cannon for a decade. That would date back to 2014. In 2014, Nick Cannon was still married to Mariah Carey. They did not separate until December 2014. So what month was it that you and Nick Cannon commenced your courtship? Ho. You're calling Chelsea a hoe while you're conversing with Mary, who had sex with Jason, her boss. So you're actually talking to the head hoe. It's two hoes calling a non-hoe a hoe.
While being the rag to Nick Cannon and the president of his concubine or harem, or letting him lay it low, spread it wide, and then come back home to you is embarrassing, there are far more embarrassing things about women like Bree. She had such low racial self-esteem that she went and laid on a table to get work done so that she could be chosen by black men, whilst being okay with microaggressions towards black women and being prejudiced towards them. There is absolutely nothing wrong with being a white mother to a black child. There is, however, something wrong with being a white mother to a black child when you have prejudice towards black women but have no issue taking black dick. But you perpetuating that same behavior to other black people is so crazy to me, seeing that one day your child might go through the same things, but you will not be able to relate. You will not be able to understand their struggle. And you're showing us that you don't care because you are one of the people that perpetuate this behavior.
Bree's being sued, and they are allegedly not allowed to talk about that on camera. It gets cut out whenever they talk about it. And from my understanding, part of the lawsuit is that she is using racial slurs, she's using homophobic slurs, and someone came to Chrishell and showed her screenshots of how Bree would talk about G-Flip in text messages without Chrishell being there. And so Bree is smiling in Chrishell's face, claiming that she's such a good friend to her, and then in private, talking down about her non-binary partner.
So the heads of the Oppenheim group, and that's the real estate company that the show is based around, they also drew a lot of criticism online, particularly how Jason Oppenheim, one of the twin brothers, was accused of firing Chelsea on behalf of Mary, and Jason and Mary used to date. So here is what people are saying about that.
Season 9 has shown that the powers that be on this show are capitulating to the wider conservative turn in our culture. And in doing so, they're making sacrificial lambs of the two most marginalized members of the cast. Chelsea, a black woman, and Chrishell, a mixed-race queer woman. The major conflicts that this latter half of this season hinged around were conflicts that were set up to make the two most marginalized members of the cast look like villains. We've gotten so much information from Chrishell on Instagram after the season has ended because she's basically exposing that there were a lot of things that they were not allowed to talk about and a lot of things that were cut out. So it seems like she is on this like war path, victimizing herself herself cutting off people left and right, when in reality, she's simply reacting to things that other people started, and then them starting it out is getting cut out, and we're just seeing her reaction. And I say all this to say that there is, in my opinion, a deliberate effort on the part of the editors and producers of this show, of whom Brett and Jason Oppenheim are two of the executive producers, to make the Black woman and the queer woman look crazy, to cast them as villains so that when they are pushed out, when they quit because the working environment that they're in is so hostile that they can no longer ignore it, they look like big self-victimizing babies.
Let me just say I'm not surprised. These two men who date basically teenagers, socialize in mostly white spaces, and you want me to believe that they were going to help the Black woman on their team, the only Black woman on their team? Because let me just say this, I didn't always like Chelsea in this show, but she grew on me. And for them to cut out the episode of where they actually fired her on camera and where she flat out called them racist is very manipulative, because I didn't know that they had a part in the production. And the fact that they only stepped in when Mary was finally getting her 2 cents and being like, cut the cameras, was super interesting.
Well, Mary still maintains that she felt in danger whenever Chelsea was around. So following the season 9 premiere, Mary sat down with Us Weekly to chat through the drama with Chelsea, explaining that she becomes emotional over seeing Chelsea's name card at Brie Tiesi's party for a reason. And just for context, she just saw Chelsea's name written on a name card, and she started to have seemingly like a panic attack. So at Brie's party, she said, I wasn't just emotional. There were some things from after the dinner that happened that I didn't want to put myself in a situation where I'm in danger. In response, Chrishell fired back with an Instagram story call out where she wrote, I was there for all the on-camera and off-camera moments. You were never in danger, girl. Alluding that you ever were in danger regarding Chelsea is really dangerous rhetoric. Do better. Chelsea has yet to comment on the season's drama following the reunion, but according to TikToker Michelle Nutsum, who is a licensed agent in California, Chelsea has allegedly allowed her real estate license to expire, leading fans to believe that she is ready to leave Selling Sunset behind. So a cast member who is definitely leaving the show behind is fellow cast member Chrishell Stause, who has been publicly supportive of Chelsea. After Chrishell announced her exit from the show, she notably unfollowed most of her cast members from the hit Netflix series, except for Chelsea Lazkani. When Chelsea discussed the struggle of being her authentic self, when as a Black woman, she's constantly fighting against the perception that she is a bully, Chrishell wrote this, saying, this is heartbreaking, and why you shouldn't have an all-white production company with an executive producer credit and editing power to Jason, who has power to say, if you don't take this out, there is no show. Also, Chrishell Stause has previously called out her fellow castmate Brie Tiesi for promoting a company called MAGA Bracelets, additionally alleging that Tiesi used a transphobic slur to refer to Chrishell's partner. And in a recent interview with Variety, Chrishell claimed that Sunset's producers don't want to cover heavy topics, alleging they have a fear of the show going into a storyline of racism or homophobia. That's ironic. She has also accused the Netflix series of cutting footage discussing Brie Tiesi's alleged use of a transphobic slur. So also a special thanks to all the content creators featured in the story, including Jessie Wu, Tell All Bees, Nita Teresa, Vivian Banks, I'm Lowry, Dami Zane, and Teresa Concepcion. If you can check out all their channels for more info if you want more info on this story. I feel like we gave you a lot of info already. But just to kind of summarize all of that, the general gist of this is there is one Black cast member on this show, right? There's a few mixed race people, but there is one obviously Black cast member on this show. And so I don't watch a whole lot of reality TV, but I do watch this show. I started watching it because I wanted to see the houses, and then, you just kind of get caught up. But this season, it was very hard to watch. And I think what's so interesting about this story and why it has kind of taken off is because of what the production team was saying. They said, you know what, we don't want to cover these really heavy political topics on our show. Meanwhile, one of your cast members is being sued for being homophobic, transphobic, and racist to her employees. And that's just like in a separate thing from the show, but they weren't allowed to discuss it on the show. And then you see all these microaggressions that have been compiling, but they all came to a head this season. So Mary, the one who is mainly being accused of being racist towards Chelsea, she generally is not the most problematic person on the cast, but she does have her particular issue with Chelsea. And overall, I think it's telling that we are now unable to separate the politicization of the world that we live in, just for fun. You can't say, oh, I don't get involved in politics anymore because everything is political these days, right? One of the cast members selling MAGA bracelets, and that's the same cast member that's being sued for being terrible towards different minority groups. That stuff you cannot separate, especially if you're a Black woman in a space like this. Doc, do you have any thoughts on any of this?
One, obviously, that's a different universe, and I feel so left out. Great breakdown. I will say this, as you were going through the story, I said, the person they see as their antagonist is actually their redeemer. A wise man taught me that there are two mirrors, that everybody's a mirror. Even if that mirror is blurry and tilted, it's still a mirror. There's something there. So their innate biases surfacing to the forefront. And they refuse to see the pattern of this. And the individuals around her are basically doing the exact same thing. They're co-signing on this bias, possibly not seeing it either. But these are the two mirrors. The mirror of what you judge and the mirror of what you are, but you don't want to admit it. Those are your two mirrors. And as you were explaining the story, I said, my goodness, they don't realize that if they just took a step back and thought for one moment that they may be wrong, possibly, just perhaps, you're looking at it wrong. That one question, transformation typically doesn't come with a comment or a statement, it comes with a question. That one question would likely set them free. Because for them to be in this kind of mess, and listen, the commentary from seemingly all the viewers is quite, so now it's the same. And I'm interested to know, because I've never watched the program, okay? But I would like to know, is there any discussion about cast members when this happens, or do they keep all of that outside of production?
It's kind of tricky because you can tell that they are heavily editing everything.
Mhm.
Again, I started watching this show for the houses, right? The drama is just kind of there, but it's and what's been coming out, especially now after this season, more than I've seen with other seasons, is there is a lot of talk about what is going on, what was left out, conversations that were left out, the way things were handled behind the scenes. We're getting a lot more insight into those types of things, mainly because it seems like Chrishell has left the show, so she has no filter anymore. She's just saying all kinds of things. Chelsea may or may not have been fired. We're not sure. Or is just not returning to the show. So on the show itself, I mean, there were things that are now being reported that they just were not allowed to discuss, and things that made, people like Mary look bad were cut from the show because the production team likes her. She's kind of like their darling. She also makes the most money for the Oppenheim group. Oh, that's what they say, that she's, their best realtor that they have on the team. So they're not going to do anything to go against Mary. And then Mary has also been accused of weaponizing her white woman's tears by going to her bosses, who she knows she is highly favored with, and saying, you know what, I don't know what you can do to fix this. And saying, implying that she was trying to get Chelsea fired, seemingly knowing that that would work with these bosses, with this production team. So we are getting a lot more insight into all that. It's not as fun anymore to watch a show like this. Again, I was just there for the houses.
Yeah. All right. Well, I can see how it sucked you in.
I don't
right.
even like the houses. So